Okay, good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the city council meeting of Tuesday, February 3rd. Call the meeting to order and ask for approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented and request that all presentations and discussions be conducted respectfully and in a manner mindful of everyone's time.
Second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have consideration of the minutes of the January 6th and January 13th meetings.
I had one little thing.
Okay.
I need to find it though. Sorry.
Which, do you remember which meeting?
No, but and I thought I flagged it, but it's from the, what meeting? It's from the January 6th meeting on page 6 of 7. And it just simply calls me out by my first name. That's all, instead of Hammond.
I also have the wrong year on everything.
Right.
Oh, yes, you do.
But you caught that
But
yourself.
I can do that, so I can update the year and then I'll change on page 6
Okay.
and.
Anything else?
I motion to approve the minutes of January 6th and January 13th as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Before we start, I would like to remind the audience that this room is very hard to hear. And so if you could all, refrain from conversation, we would appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so now we'll have public comment. Remember that we like to be under 3 minutes and be kind and respectful. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Nancy Hickey.
Now you can talk.
Street address or mailing it?
Millie.
Mailing the post office box, because I was before, can be ready at night.
Remember to
from there.
Yeah, speak up.
Oh, okay.
No, we should, she knows how to speak up.
I am a board member of the Cannon Beach Community Food Pantry. And I have volunteered our pantry since before it was open. And I'm not, however, tonight here as a board member. Nobody has asked me to speak here tonight. I'm not coming at the behest of the board. I'm just speaking about my feelings and as a longtime volunteer with the food pantry, these are my thoughts. As a citizen of Cannon Beach, I really want to thank this council and city staff for so quickly help us continue so pantry volunteers can continue to feed people and provide food and essentials, people who really need it in our community. We help them meet their basic. These are people who live and work here. Last Wednesday, we got more than 200 people down there and from the classrooms. And thanks to your help and to the many volunteers, we will be open tomorrow again. Every Wednesday we hope. Well, you could hope that we wouldn't have to be open, but we are going to have to be open because people need us. So we're open from 3 to 5:15 every Wednesday. At our own cost, which is provided to us from so many generous donors, we have rented 2 refrigeration units that are on site now and are plugged in. The city came down and told us where they would like to have them, and we did that. Cannon Beach Electric came down and hooked us up, and so we're running there. They're hooked up to our old panel, and we continue to pay our own utilities as we always have. In the new platform, we have no light, no heat, no water, no electricity. It's cold in there, and we look forward to spring coming and we can open the blinds and get some solar heat. Solar gain, I guess they call it, but we feel safe there. We still feel safe from catastrophic roof failure and from mold. Well, we're glad to be there. Thank you so much. Some volunteers have given notice that they will not work in that old building. And we have people who have, for health reasons cannot be. Beginning the talk about developing this Bible honored location in this park. Was having a food pantry down there was always part of it. I myself am able to understand how a community food pantry within the boundaries of Nate Cruz Park is not incompatible with developing a park and park to share and to celebrate what we have been, what we are, and what we'll become. And thank you so much. And I really look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Anybody else in the audience? Okay, is there anyone on Zoom? If you would raise your hand, please.
Claire Stroke.
Did you say Claire?
Yes.
Oh, Clara. Okay, Clara, go ahead, please.
Hi, Clara Strofe, PO Box 88. I'm here to make some comment about a resolution that I think you guys are talking about tonight. About emergency powers, about the new city park being discussed, and I'm just kind of concerned that giving this much power with this much money to one individual seems incredibly risky, when it also seems like this emergency kind of isn't an emergency. These have been things that have been going on for a long time. I don't really understand it. And so if any of you guys could maybe speak to why this is suddenly an emergency and emergency powers need to be granted to the city manager, that'd be great. But I know a lot of people in the community are concerned about overspending. They're concerned about a lack of transparency and how these projects are being planned, what contractors are being used. And I think that creating less transparency right now is not a good idea for the community. So I would just like maybe some clarity from you guys and maybe some rethinking of this resolution. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else on Zoom? Okay, one last chance. Anybody in the audience? Krista?
Good evening, Krista Tide, PO Box 976, Cannon Beach, Oregon. I'm gonna answer that question if I possibly can, is that about 3 years ago, Rock Whitman and our president Tina Vincent were in the building, and I was there too. And they had solicited someone to look at our roof, because we were, at that time, I don't know, it was 3 years ago, that's when we were owned by the Seaside School District. They had someone look at our roof, and the guy came down, the guy was like a lumberjack, he was half my size, looked like he should be going out for the Olympics. And he's like, I don't wanna go on your roof. And we kind of laughed and thought about it. A couple of years go by, the city comes down and there is a tree falls on us. And the city comes down and with the city and with the fire department, with the police department, no one wanted to get on the roof. And so this kind of a little wake up call that we can laugh about it, we can serve these individuals. Well, it's kind of serious now. You have young individuals that are not in fear and they don't want to get on the roof. 2 weeks ago, our president, Tina Vincent, bought a mold kit from Home Depot. And it was an expensive mold kit, but it wasn't a mold kit professional. Went in, she put the kit in, it was kind of this. But then we're always going in and out of the food pantry. And the food pantry, the doors, as far as I know, but people go in and out for different things, were closed for 3 days. The mold kit showed, you don't want to look at it, it looks like it was bubbling, it was mold spores. And we had a group of great individuals that are volunteers that said, a couple of them said, I don't want to go in there. But we know that the roof is a problem, we know that the roof has a tree that's hit it, we know that we have mold. And we all kind of took a deep breath. Our president was on vacation and said, hey, what are we missing here? You know, are we gonna be that horrible situation in Texas where these children's camp got washed away because not a few people weren't raising their hands? And we made a decision to move out. I get emotional because of the Texas situation, but I also get emotional because I love this town. Because you know who showed up? All the volunteers for the food pantry, all the board for the food pantry, the city showed up, the nice kids that work at that come over to the Christian Conference Center said, what can we do? The regional food pantry, we made the decision to move out. Nothing bad has happened, but we're trying to prevent something bad from happening. Sorry, I'm getting emotional due to that Texas situation. So I'm a kind of a safe first girl. I wear my, you know, my pretty safe. Well, but I just think it was the right thing to do. The food pantry with its generous donors are paying for the freezers and refrigerators. But it was the right decision. It was a tough decision, but I want to extend the olive branch to this community. Stop putting each other down. Look at what we're doing right. You know, I got a nice letter we all got a nice letter from Mike Morgan that said we're the shining star of Cannon Beach. And I thought blew us all away, but he just felt like it was a good thing. But I gotta tell you, what made it good? What made it good was the volunteers. What made it good, I'm not trying to blind blow sunshine up here, because I want something from you, but you came forward. Board members that are 74 years old working in a mold came forward. This is not that big a deal. I don't know why I'm crying, but we're making too big a deal of stuff that doesn't matter. We moved next door to a clean room with no mold, that has no lights, has no heat. But guess what? Nancy, what did you, how many people you served yesterday? Last week? Over 200. Over 200. And for you hotel owners, you restaurant owners, you tax collectors that need that food and beverage revenue, they're your clients. They need you. Our social security people that live here, that we want to live in a world that has diversity, they need you. But I'm crying, but it's not that big a deal. It's we move next door, support us, no more bad emails. But I feel very supported by the community. I feel very supported by the city. I mean, thank you. Deanna walked it. Eric came down and walked it. Barb's there all the time. It's her, you know, heart and soul. Bruce came down. But it doesn't mean we're bad because we want the city. It just takes all of us to make this work. Okay.
Thank you, Krista.
You're welcome.
You're making me cry.
Thank you, Kristen.
Anybody else in the audience?
Forgot again.
Okay.
Jennifer Childress.
Okay, Jennifer, go ahead.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Oh, it's Ab.
Hear me? This
Hi.
is,
Yes, I can.
obviously, this is not Jennifer, this is Watt Childress. Actually live at 40660 North Fork Road in Nehalem. I have a bookshop on North Spruce Street, many of you folks are familiar with. I just want to say how grateful, absolutely grateful I am for the good folks that are distributing food to the people who need it. I'm absolutely grateful. Thank you folks so much for doing that. It's the kind of thing that we need to be prepared to support way in advance of any kinds of problems that arise. We need to be able to support it as a community, so that the facilities can accommodate those needs. And so if there's any lessons to be learned here, it's that we need to work together to make sure that those facilities can accommodate those good folks who are working. If we get to the point where there's an emergency, then there's probably some lessons for all of us to learn. I also want to say that I think that, you know, one of the things that's been circulating here is this was added to the agenda pretty late in the process, it seems, is confusions about how far this emergency resolution would go. And I think that really focusing on the food pantry and the needs there, I think, at least from my standpoint, would relieve, the concerns I might have about how that authority to staff might be extended beyond the specific needs of the food pantry. So hopefully you're really focusing on the food pantry, and that whatever decisions you're going to make tonight are really going to be centered on that, and not necessarily be extended onto other provisions with regard to Nakoos Park. And I appreciate all of your work, and yeah, just gratitude all around.
Thank you, Watt. Anybody else on Zoom? And one more time for the audience. Okay, thank you very much. First on the agenda tonight, we have a presentation by the Colpack Regional Development Program. Bruce, you want to say anything before we get started?
Tonight, we have Executive Director Sarah Lee and the Program Coordinator Jackie Pewitt. Is that right?
That's right.
Good. Morning. And they're gonna talk about the Regional Economic Development Program.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us. I'm gonna be a little diagonal here so I can look at the slide I'm supposed to be referencing. My name is Sarah Lou, my last name is Heath. I've been with Colpack for about 5 years this spring. I'm the Executive Director, and as Bruce mentioned, this is Jackie. She's our Programs Coordinator. And we both work with the Canadian Pacific Economic Development District. So an economic development district is a designation that the Economic Development Administration at the federal level assigns to folks. And so we've had this designation since we were founded in the mid-90s. We serve Clatsop, Columbia, Tillamook, and Western Washington counties, so definitely the region surrounding Cannon Beach. And some of our main regional roles are to facilitate partnerships, maintain those federal relationships, and then provide tailored on-the-ground services, especially around capacity building. Most of our communities in the region are very small. The largest are 10 or 15,000. Most of them are about the size of Cannon Beach. And so we do that through a number of projects and programs, including grant writing and administration, our EDA Small Business Revolving Loan Fund, a new program that we just did with Clatsop County for commercial property assessment energy. We have a brownfield redevelopment program. We also administer the Northwest Oregon Transit Alliance, and we develop and keep the comprehensive economic development strategy for our region. We call that the SEDS, and I'll get more into it as the slides go.
He has your clicker over here.
Oh, so I'll look at you, not her. Perfect.
So yes, trying to look over your shoulder.
And so I'll turn it over to Jackie to talk about CDBG grants.
Yeah, so I'll quickly cover three of our services that we offer as the Regional Economic Development District. The first one is our CDBG Grant Administration Services. And we'll get, you can see here, these are just it's a short list of grants that we've managed in the past and currently managing. You probably know that with federal and state grants that they're highly regulated. There's a lot of stipulations, a lot of requirements. And so we recognize that our local municipalities don't always have the capacity to manage the details that come along with grant applications. And so we offer grant writing services, grant application services, as well as grant management services once the grant is awarded. So we, some of those services, just name a few, reporting, labor related cross-cutting requirements, and then also reimbursement or draw requests. So those cyclical tasks that are related to the grant, we offer management services for. And the next slide relates to our Economic Development Administration Revolving Loan Fund program. So Colpack recently recapitalized our loan program. And so we have funds that are available to lend to small businesses. And we're specifically targeting small businesses and entrepreneurs that are not able to secure financing through traditional, from traditional lenders through banks and so forth. For a variety of reasons that can happen, but perhaps they still have a very viable business plan, business strategy. And so that's where Colpack can help out. We can assess their needs and see if they're eligible for RLF program. And the purpose of that program is to diversify and strengthen the regional economy, to create and retain jobs. And then also important to note that we're not intending to compete with our local lenders in the area. Rather, we're looking to fill a gap and we're looking to support them. So that's just a very brief information about that program. I think next up is our commercial property assessed clean energy program. So Colpack is a program administrator for this wonderful private public partnership type finance program. I'm just going to reference my notes here because this is a fairly new program, but we're really excited about it. Clatsop County recently adopted the program, and it allows owners of eligible commercial property to obtain long-term competitive financing for projects that are eligible as it relates to clean energy. So it's renewable energy, energy efficiency projects, seismic resiliency, and water conservation. Did I get them all? I think so. So those types of projects, if a property owner has a new construction project or even a rehabilitation project, and they'd like to upgrade with some projects that sometimes can be cost prohibitive, then they can utilize this tool. And they do so through a special property tax assessment, and that's where the county comes in. So I'm not sure if you're all familiar with that program, but we can provide you with more information. There's a lot to it, but we're really excited about it because we think it's going to allow for economic growth in our region in Clatsop County and surrounding counties. So we can give you more information about it via email. It's also on our website. And we just ask that you think of Colpack if you are interested in these programs or if you know someone in the community that could benefit from the services.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I know you said it, but I haven't trouble hearing, voting. But where do you get the money?
For which program?
Anyway.
It really depends. We've got a few more to talk about, but our small business revolving loan fund, that comes from the Economic Development Administration. Previously, it came from USDA. So that's one. CDBG funds typically are income restricted. So in Cannon Beach, you're generally not considered an income restricted community. But if there are projects that serve typically low income people, like senior centers or food banks, you can still qualify, and that comes directly from HUD, the Housing and Urban Development Agency. For CPACE, this is actually kind of new in Oregon. I think 7 counties have adopted it. And it's the county allows it to take place by adopting ordinances, and then a private finance person actually makes a deal with the developer, and so it's private to private. That's just recorded as an assessment because that loan will actually move with the property as opposed to the individual, and so that can really help developers depending on what their plan is for the property. Some people want to build and sell, some people want to build and hold. And so that is all private investment and it's not from a public source.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question about the revolving loan fund. You mentioned that the intent is to fill a gap, that's missing. How do you identify the gap or the applicants is there a process for applicants to say, hey, I attended funding, could I do it?
Yeah, so a few ways, if I may jump
Yeah, go ahead.
in. By all means, we work with a lot of lenders, so referral base, somebody might look at their risk portfolio and say, we might be able to, somebody's looking for a $500,000 loan. And they say, we can come in at maybe 300, 350, but we can't do this whole loan. They might call us and see if we can fill that in their stack. It also might be, for example, we're working with a co-op right now. So a number of people that have successful businesses have decided to form a co-op, but they're still considered a startup in the lending world. That entity does not have 2 years of financials. And so we're a little bit more flexible at how we look at that and how we underwrite things. So referrals, word of mouth, working with our SBDCs. craft breed, that type of thing.
Okay, so not typically someone that just comes straight and says, hey, come straight to you and says, hey, I have this thing that they are already currently working, and then a financing agency says, well, maybe you should go over here.
Often like that, sometimes we get people that just search because we do come up in the Google results. But part of our application, and we are pretty forthright, is we need a letter from an institution that has turned you down.
Okay.
We don't make them apply to every institution available, but as Jackie mentioned, we have a real important piece of our mission is not to compete with existing banks or lenders. Yeah.
So you'll do full financing if they've been, or you potentially can do full financing if they've been denied somewhere else, but you also are available to bridge that gap.
Correct. And we do have limits. Our floor is $50,000 and our max is $200,000. So, sometimes we do it in reverse, where we'll say, we can do this much, but we need to go find you a little bit more since, you know, we have that limit. And the funds can be used for a number of things. It is tied to job retention or creation. It can be used for equipment purchasing, real estate purchase, working capital, a number of things. Yeah.
Good.
And that's it for me. Yeah. Also wanted to mention the Northwest Oregon Transit Alliance, and it's nice that we're in Cannon Beach because there's a really good example here. Way back in 2011, five transit agencies got together in Columbia, Clatsop, Tillamook, Lincoln, and Benton counties to work on developing a connected service that brings people from coast to valley, north and south, back and forth. And so they work under an IGA, an intergovernmental agreement to have the Northwest Oregon Transit Alliance. And we do a lot of things for efficiencies. Right now, we have a single contractor that's building bus stops across two agencies. During the pandemic, we did purchasing of sanitation supplies as a group to get lower costs. We have a shared website which lowers costs and really helps the user because I would presume that if you're coming from Corvallis, you're not like, I'm gonna look up Sunset Empire Transit District and the Tillamook County Transportation District and see how they connect. You can just go to northwestconnector.org, use this great integrated planning tool and look at that whole trip holistically. And so there's a great example in Tillamook where Sunset Empire great example in Cannon Beach where Tillamook comes up, Sunset comes down, and we make sure that our routes align. And so that's a great group, and we just help them with a number of kind of administrative tasks. A program that we are just starting this year is called Transportation Options. This is a program whose main mission is to limit the number of single occupancy vehicle trips. So one person, one car. Those funds come from the Federal Highway Administration and are funneled through ODOT, and every region in the state has transportation options funding. We've taken this over after some changes at Sunset Empire had them decide that they didn't want to own it anymore. And since it's a regional project, it made sense for us to work through NWADA, our Transit Alliance, to work on some of these things. So we're going to be focused on the Get Their Challenges, which are statewide campaigns to help people commute, van pool, take their bike, as well as some construction mitigation outreach. So this is great when say there's a landslide and it's going to take 2 weeks to get the highway back open. We'll be able to work with radio stations and virtual methods, signage, work directly with businesses to help mitigate those impacts. You know, it was a big deal when Garibaldi was having their downtown redone last summer, and a number of businesses were really concerned about how it impacted parking, how people didn't want to stop and shop so much. They just were really focused on getting through the construction. And then a part that I'm particularly excited about is our ability to use the Transportation Options Program to look at walkabilities within communities and last mile transportation, whether that can look like a lot of things. and I think it's probably gonna look different in every community, but one of the things that we're interested in promoting is car-free travel to the coast. Or if you get here in your car, park your car and don't get back in it until you're ready to go home. Most of our communities, in Cannon Beach is a great example. You know, you can park at the Wayfair, have your weekend there and really just be on foot all weekend. And want to encourage people to do that, just trying to keep the congestion down and the public parking accessible. For the last 4 years, we've also been working on our brownfield land redevelopment program. We have gone through 2 funding cycles. This funding comes from the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. We started this with securing Clatsop County a $500,000 brownfields grant that we have been project managing for the last 3 years. Some of the projects we've done with that, including redevelopment planning and yield studies for the Pacifica Apartments in Seaside, the Copeland Commons Affordable Project in Astoria, as well as a little project in Warrenton, where a property owner wanted to assess their property. That's assessment funding. We were recently awarded another 1.2 million to continue that across the region. So there is definitely some folks in the eastern part of our region when we had funds in Tillamook and Clatsop County asking where are ours, so we went and acquired those. This is another program that we have a revolving loan fund for. So a brownfield is any property that redevelopment is hindered by contamination or suspected contamination. And what we can do through assessment is look at historical records, see if it's likely if there's contamination. Somebody was running a farm, a lot of pesticides and fuels that have been used in agriculture were contaminants. If somebody had a gas station or a car repair place, those are kind of some of the signifiers that say we might want to do some actual testing. And so that's the assessment and characterization part. This is really important when properties transfer ownership, because if you don't do your due diligence, you take on all of that liability when you buy a project as well, buy a property as well. And oftentimes if a lender knows there's likely contamination, they're going to be very hesitant to lend on that transaction. So, we can do that assessment and characterization. We can also do redevelopment planning. So if Cannon Beach had a property that, you know, this used to be a car dealership and it burned down. And so for the last 15 years, the folks that inherited it haven't moved it. You know, if they're interested in working with the county or the city to determine what it could be next, there can be market feasibility studies. If they want it to be housing, we can look at yield studies supporting to zoning and just do a lot of really interesting work with our consultants on that. So it's been a really successful tool for us and we're excited to keep that going. And then I wanted to touch on the CEDS, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. We do update it every year, but it has an in-depth public engagement process every 5 years. We have a broad scope of economic development strategies, and that's going to be on this slide. But the critical thing to know is oftentimes when you apply for federal funding, there's going to be a question on your application that says, does this align with your local CEDS? And so we try to work with all of our communities when we do these to make sure you make your upcoming projects or priorities are included, so you get those 5 points on the scoring matrix. And I wanted to end on this slide. We recently did kind of a retrospective on our impact for the last 5 years. And this shows by year and then by a strategy goal. So our strategies are modern infrastructure, regional collaboration, business support, and that includes from small to large manufacturing to fishing, as resiliency, not only against disasters, but economic resiliency, workforce development and transportation. And so you can see over the years, these numbers are not extrapolated, they are pretty distinct, including our brownfields funding, the community development block grants that we have done, our loan program, working in food systems. We had a 3-year project recently that supported a number of food hubs in the region. And just wanted to share this to show that it ebbs and flows over the year. But typically in these last 5 years, our lowest return on investment for every dollar we spent on payroll, we returned $4. In our highest year, it was over $40. And so even if you're just looking at an average, that's a pretty good return for the work that we do regionally. So we don't have a project in every city every year, but we do a good job of moving around regionally. And as my friend Mayor Wright often says, if it's good for Cannon Beach, it's good for Seaside. If it's good for Seaside, it's good for Wanna. And if you look at the commute sheds around here, there's no two people that live and work in the same city that I see. So that's kind of an overview of what we do and how we do it. And we just wanted to introduce ourselves. And if you've got any questions about these, we'd be happy to follow up with you. And if you have any referrals for a small business or a property owner, we'd be happy to touch base with them as well.
Okay,
Thanks.
any other questions?
Really, you said that says updated every 5 years, where are you in the?
I think we've got 2 years left. It'll be 2028. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thanks.
Jackie.
Okay, that's on the agenda, we have a public hearing. And this is a public hearing, this is a hearing regarding the appeal by Stephen Gerber of Gerber Architect LLC, 2504. Stephen Gerber of Gerber Architect LLC on behalf of their director incorporated for variance to off-street parking requirements at 280 North Hemlock Street, tax lot ID 1602, map 5101 9DE. The subject property is in the limited commercial C1 zoning district. The application will be reviewed against the criteria of municipal code 17.90 variances. I'm going to open the public hearing and ask, does anyone object to the jurisdiction of the city council to hear this appeal at this time? Does any counselor believe he or she has a personal bias to declare? Has any counselor had any ex parte contacts or made a site visit? Site visit. Is there any additional correspondence?
There was the one that was added to the amended package for that.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to request the staff report, please. Jeff?
Thank you, Mayor, Council, and Jeff Adams, City of Cannon Beach Community Development Director. And I'm just gonna read from this staff report because it is a brief one and I know not everyone has it. So at the November 25th, 2025 public hearing, the City of Cannon Beach Planning Commission rendered an oral decision to deny the off-street parking variance request of Stephen Gerber on behalf of Aaron Carr Inc. at 280 North Hemlock Street. On December 9th, 2025, the Planning Commission adopted the written order and findings denying the application for failure to satisfy Cannon Beach Municipal Code 1790-70A. The applicant requested a review of the Planning Commission's decision and an appeal application received by the city on December 23rd, 2025, within the 14-day appeal period for the date of the order of variance 2504 that was signed on December 9th, 2025. City Council held its scope of review meeting to discuss as a non-public hearing item the terms under which it wishes to review the matter according to section 17-1840 of the Cannon Beach Municipal Code. The applicant requested that the matter be reviewed on specific issues with its appeal statement. The applicant submitted new evidence consisting of a document containing 11 pages of images. This evidence was not presented to the Planning Commission. Upon review, the City Council could not find the applicant had identified any issues presented in the Planning Commission's written decision that would warrant a de novo hearing, and decided to hear the matter on the record. For clarity regarding the content of the record, staff recommends that the city council specifically reject for inclusion, the record, the document containing 11 pages with images, and that's what the council did. The appellant asserts that an established community norms for a single ingress egress point and an established pattern of uses in the area that appellant argues do not provide the number of code required parking spaces, support a determination that Canyon Beach Municipal Code 1790 70A is met. Staff rejects the argument, and first 70A does not allow consideration of established community norms or consideration of whether there are other properties that do not provide the number of code required parking spaces. Second, even if the code allowed consideration of those issues, there is no evidence in the record of the planning commission proceeding to support the appellant's arguments regarding these issues. Further, the city is not required to approve the appellant's variance simply because some other unidentified property or properties do not comply with the standard. The appellant provided evidence from the Mariner Market and other center market locations from coastal areas and the traffic study, and yet the planning commission, as stated in their findings, did not find such evidence persuasive. Specifically, the planning commission concluded that the proposed traffic pattern of ingress and egress from a single point on the Hemlock Street, as well as the volume of traffic, creates a safety concern. The appellant references a number of individual commissioner statements made during deliberations. The individual commissioner statements are not part of the written record. The appellant also makes a number of references to 1,000 square feet of an adjacent business intending on their lot, which issue was not raised during the planning commission's consideration of the matter. Therefore, because this is an on the record review, staff recommends the city council not consider that issue. Staff recommends that the city council deny the appeal and uphold the planning commission decisions. And I have some notes that respond to Mr. Alderman's letter that was received after the staff report. So let me just read those. And then we also have Missy Ryan, our land use attorney, on the call. If anyone has any questions of her or I after this, just let me know. Mr. Alderman refers to the transportation study and the Mariner Market comparison. It doesn't mention that the first part of the study dismisses the standard approach or traditional trip generation and parking demand projections, trip generation method, which all showed in the words of the report of Ms. Danziger, the traffic engineer, said was unreasonable estimates of traffic demand. And yet, when Ms. Danziger was pressed on the matter in the planning commission meeting of why Mariner Market was a comparable study location, although it presented very different traffic flow pass through rather than pull in, pull out, she could only agree with the planning commission that it was a very different traffic pattern and admit that they didn't track such maneuvers of where these flows actually flowed to. And yet it leaves one to question how this could be seen as a sufficient comparison while the standard trip generation manual was so easily dismissed. And although both the traffic study and Mr. Alderman explained that the Mariners Market only provides 8 spaces for a larger retail establishment and that the study sampled showed these spots were rarely full, the study didn't mention that the Mariners Market is adjacent to the city's largest public parking area, which once again, Ms. Danziger admitted they couldn't or didn't track as part of the study. In essence, the planning commission found that the safety concern involved the volume and pattern proposed by the plan and didn't feel the evidence from the study and in the record was persuasive or compelling to grant the variance. To be fair, the applicant brought this before the planning commission previously with a pass-through traffic pattern and was denied and sought the study. When Ms. Danziger was asked about the safety concerns regarding the pull-in, back-out pattern, she stated she felt it was a low-risk occurrence. Staff would ask that when council considers the proposal, that they might consider the Moon Garage, which was 3,077 square foot Auto Repair Station. This application is asking for just over 4,100 square feet of retail convenience store. In other words, one should consider that an applicant could propose tomorrow up to 3,000 square feet convenience store equating to 7 parking spaces for retail plus 1 for residential parking, equaling the current configuration of the proposed development before you tonight, which would be administratively approved under current conditions without having to seek a variance. And if one is willing to entertain the 2 additional on-street parking spaces the applicant has proposed as created by this new single access arrangement, then one might conceivably entertain a 3,800 square foot convenience store, just 300 square feet smaller than what's being proposed. However, such an application would need a variance. So I just wanted to frame this discussion in light of the way our current ordinances are written. An applicant could shrink this application by approximately 1,100 square feet without a variance request. And only DRB would have a say in the siding, architectural, and landscaping of the application. Any questions?
I'd like you to restate or clarify the reduction and the impact. If the size of the store was reduced by,
Yeah, so it's currently, what is being proposed is for about just over 4,100 square feet. The Moon property was at 3,077 square feet, so approximately 1,000 feet less. So, the hypothetical that I propose is that someone could come in with that smaller, about 1,000 square, almost exactly the Moon size, and be the convenience store, and they would not need to seek a variance.
and their parking requirement for that would be what?
What it is, what's proposed, 7
8,
and 1,
7 plus 1.
right? And so, that would come in, we'd administratively approve that, it would go to DRB for their review of siding, landscape, and architecture. That's, so, what would happen to this if this were approved, or, if you overturn the planning commission decision, that still would go for the same review before the DRB. So just wanted to have you to have that and see what the difference is,
Is it safe to characterize the denial was based on the safety issue?
That was the, that's a general concern. It boiled down to that, you can tell from the minutes and from the record is that the safety concern was the pull in or having to pull in and back out onto the street. But, as I mentioned, it was denied for the other version that is in the record of the pull through. So it is a difficult situation.
And I had another question, but it escaped me. You ready to go?
I have 2 questions, and I think they're for staff probably. There's things that were mentioned during the meeting that seemed to hold quite a bit of weight with commissioners. One was the parking mitigation program that was mentioned a few times. My understanding is that program no longer exists.
Yes, and that is why staff never brings it up.
And that's what I thought. So it seems like the planning commissioners believe that program still exists.
From some of the members, I believe that, yes, and unfortunately, I was on the call that evening, but was not back here and was not part of the, I was actually just attending. And so I couldn't speak to it. I didn't feel I had the authority at that time to speak to it. And I did not know what had happened since I left. I didn't know the ordinances, but there's another issue. Those ordinances need to be changed because they conflict, right? They do mention it. And I think that's why it was brought up by the planning commission and others. It's still, what do they call it now with AI? you know, it shouldn't be there is what I'm, and and it needs to be corrected through the code audit.
Okay, so that program does not exist, and there is no other options.
Eric, it
Well,
is
for those new
Yes,
applicants, it doesn't have to be that.
yes, sorry,
It's one of the reasons they're gonna be nothing.
yes. It was oversubscribed. We did a review of that when I was here previously, and it was, vastly oversubscribed.
No room is never.
Yeah, well, it was just, it was mentioned a couple of times why that avenue wasn't explored in the planning commission. And then the other question I had, there was a question about, this being a single family residence versus group housing. It seemed to be addressed in the application by the appellant. But I didn't understand how the determination,
As staff,
where that line is drawn down.
staff repeated, I think, in the minute, or in the, on the meeting, and they were correct, is that, yes, they have only applied for a single family up there, so we reviewed it as one parking spot.
Okay, yeah, because there was quite a bit of discussion about whether or not it's group housing, and I didn't understand how the determination
Well, I think
could have been made.
my impression was that they, for the sake of sounding like they were providing workforce housing, they said it was for the staff and people who work there, but for the sake of not having to have more parking spots, they called it single family housing. Which that's how I read it. I mean, you can't have it both ways. Unless your whole family works there and you're all the staff, you know.
How my business operates.
There's just the usual way it works.
It's not unheard of.
Yeah, but that's not, you know, they would have said that, if that was true, I think.
Okay, those are my two questions for staff.
Thanks, you got mine in there. Well, it was about the group housing conversation.
Okay.
And
Still in.
if, yes, could I just ask Missy if she has anything that she needs to add?
Oh, thank you, Jeff. I just wanted to reiterate, as Jeff already said, that the two issues that the council was just asking about were not pertinent to the planning commission's ultimate decision, and it was problematic to raise them in deliberations as well. And so I wanted to emphasize that. I do want to emphasize that with the whole sort of group living discussion, that is a difficult issue to tackle, and it does bring in implications under the Fair Housing Act. And so I guess I would urge the city to take the application at face value that it's qualifies as a single family dwelling.
Thank you. Any other questions of the staff?
I'll go one more time.
Okay.
The current size building, with single family residence would require how much parking?
Are you saying the one that's being requested, or the current as in the moon structure?
No, the last one that was denied,
Yeah, so they're asking for,
was it 11?
let me see, it's, I got it right here. It's, 10 parking spaces for retail and one for residential. Yeah, 11 total.
Okay, any other questions of staff? Okay, so I'm gonna call for public testimony and state the appeal will be reviewed under municipal code section 17.90 variances. The hearing will be held on the record and no new evidence will be allowed into the record. The pertinent criteria to be considered are identified in the staff report, which was made available to the public 7 days in advance of this hearing. Staff has analyzed the appeal issues relying on the reasoning set forth in the planning commission's decision. Persons who testify shall first receive recognition from the mayor, state their full name and mailing address, and if appearing in the representative capacity, identify who they represent. All testimony is limited to matters which were raised at the planning commission hearing in writing or orally. No new evidence will be considered. Testimony must be directed toward those criteria or other criteria in which the person testifying believes to apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or with references to record evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. In addition, the failure of an applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient detail to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Is there a presentation by the applicant?
Don't see any hands up.
The applicant isn't on Zoom?
That would be Stephen Gerber.
Yeah. Mr. Gerber, did you want to make a presentation?
They promoted her. Probably decline.
You decline. Okay. Are there presentations by proponents? Anybody in the audience? Anybody on Zoom? Are there presentations by opponents? In the audience? Steve?
Steve White, about 105 Cannon Beach, Oregon. I'm here as a private citizen and not part of the commission. I do want to say though that it does raise some safety issues. The way that the parking lot is situated, not only does it not have enough parking, but my concern, one of my main concerns, other than the code as it stands, is that you can't see whether that lot is full or whether there are spaces available, the way that it's situated. So you're going to have a lot of people coming into that and not being able to identify whether there are spots available or not until they get into the parking lot itself. And at that point, they would have to retreat backwards, back across the sidewalk and out into traffic again, because there was a big gap. So we had to pull through back on the building. So that was, I think, the biggest safety concern here is not being able to identify open spots, besides the number of spots required. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponents? Nancy?
Nancy, well, you need to come ahead. Nancy, why 23 and target. I did look through all of these things and all the information, and I saw that yes, there's a plan for 3 bedrooms upstairs and 1 parking lot. I mean, 1 parking for me. I live in a R3 zone, and if I put up even a 1-bedroom place, I have to. I don't know if that's permanent or not. I saw it in my mind.
Thank you. Any other opponents? Okay, is there a staff response?
No, that is just requiring off-street parking is for, a single family in conjunction with the mixed use type structure. Just read.
Okay, does the applicant? I have to ask this, I guess. Does the applicant wish to make additional statements? Mr. Gerber? Okay, so I'm gonna close the public hearing and move to consideration.
I am in motion.
Okay.
I move to deny the appeal and uphold the planning commission's unanimous decision, as well as the recommendation by our planning department.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I have a couple of things that I want to say about it. So, I'm concerned about, moving goalpost situations that are, we've set up the situation before with the decisions we've made, planning commission set it up before, decisions they've made. A previous application by this applicant had to pull through, they said it was unsafe, get a traffic study. So they changed it in, so it was a one-way in, one-way out. They then turned around and denied it, saying it's unsafe to do that. So what is the message the city is trying to send? Is it unsafe to have 2 entrances? Is it unsafe to have a combined entrance and exit. That's the first comment I have. The other comment I have is what kind of message is the city sending by essentially blindly approving a variance from 34 spaces down to 7 spaces for a different commercial property that didn't include housing. But this application that does include housing, saying 8 isn't enough when they require 11. So the CBD project versus this commercial project that with retail and housing above. And there was like a few other comments, but that's the main highlights of
I have a few
what I
as
was
well.
about. Oh, I'm sorry, Ken.
Okay.
Well, I just remembered one more.
Go ahead.
That I wanted to say, but the concern of safety that was raised by one of the planning commissioners here tonight, that was speaking on Brad's behalf, was brought up a couple of times. And the discussion also ended up around, it doesn't matter if they have 11 spaces or if they only have the 8 spaces they're providing. It's the exact same issue, so it doesn't seem like it's an additional safety, which the variance, it does not create a safety hazard. The safety hazard exists, whether the variance is there or not. This application, by reducing it, doesn't create an additional safety hazard. It's the same hazard whether they have 11 spaces or they have 8 spaces, and that one was discussed in the planning commission meetings.
If they had 11 spaces, they wouldn't get a variance.
They wouldn't need to get a variance, but the safety hazard.
I know, and we can't do anything about that. That's the way the code is written.
Yeah,
And
but this doesn't create a safety hazard. The safety hazard exists, whether or not the variance needs
it's
to.
true, but because we're in a position where we can address it, if they were in a position where they could address the safety hazard by denying the variance. Whereas if it didn't even come before them, they couldn't do that. I mean, that's just the nature of how these issues come before anybody. You know, it's the problem might be with the code itself, and there are, thoughts about changes and things about it. Right now, this is how it exists. So we're stuck with that reality.
Well, and then, like I said, this doesn't, as the code is written, granting the variance does not create a safety hazard. The safety hazard exists. Vehicles have to cross the sidewalk.
Right, which is a safety hazard.
And so
So there's really no path forward for this that doesn't create a safety.
Exactly, whether it's a variance or not a variance or whatever,
Right.
that safety hazard will exist regardless.
And it's in the
was-
code,
that
and it's
was-
in the
Right.
code that it can't create a safety hazard.
Right, it says that.
Right.
Criteria,
So we would
so
be covered there as well.
because it does have to come for variance, because they asked for less parking spaces. At that point, the planning commission gets to address it.
Yeah, I had the same feeling about it. It's like, okay, we deny it, so the solution for them is to add 3 more parking spaces and
Or-
not require a variance.
Or
Okay.
make buildings.
Smaller, just like Jeff explained to you.
Yeah,
But if they make the building smaller, 3,100 square feet, then they've got their 7-1, their 8 spaces, it still creates a safety hazard. So it still goes against
Yeah.
code.
but it would be approved then because
Watch the time. They don't need to get a variance then. That's the way the code's written.
Right,
So,
okay, so I missed the word variance.
Yeah.
Gary, you have something?
I really don't think it's a discussion for this appeal, but Lisa alluded to it. We have a problem with our parking code. We're creating a strip mall. Our parking code is creating a strip mall. You've said it before in meetings, we're designing a downtown for automobiles, not for people. And, we fast tracked a lot of things in our code. And this is one, we've got empty lots. We don't have a whole lot of time to get this right, to create the kind of downtown that we wanna have.
But it's coming before us, right in the new housing code that was introduced, and that was one of the things in the housing code. If you read through it, you'll see it was to reduce parking and particularly when there's, living spaces up above. We haven't passed that code.
Yeah, I don't know if
But
it,
that's-
if this goes beyond that, whether it's just always related to housing. But again, I don't know if I should be, if we should be discussing the future code right now.
Yeah, we should.
But we should be discussing the future code soon.
Yep, and we're going to be.
We have a meeting coming up, housing.
Okay, anything else? Any other discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Counselor Hammond,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes,
Yes,
Council President Kirk,
Yes.
Counselor Ostrander,
No,
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Missy.
Oh, yeah, that's. Okay, next we are in the resolution section. So the first resolution is purpose of adopting the water system master plan dated December 30th, 2025. Evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. Yep, so this is consideration of resolution 2603, adoption of the water system master plan dated December 30, 2025. Background, at the October 14th, council work session, council was presented with the updated water system master plan, which was developed by Windsor Engineers, and it was recommended for adoption by the Public Works Committee at their September 16, 2025 meeting. After the October 14th, 25 council work session, the water system master plan was submitted to the Oregon Health Authority and was subsequently reviewed and approved with minor comments that have been incorporated into this final version. The water system master plan studied the water infrastructure, identified deficiencies, prioritized projects, and provided high-level project estimates. Recommendation is staff is recommending council adopt the attached resolution that formally adopts the water system master plan. And an applicable motion is written there in the staff report as well. Joining us tonight, if you have any questions, is Travis and Mallory with Windsor Engineers.
Okay, anybody have questions?
Yeah, what specific updates did, the comments and everything that OHA have for it, and there wasn't like any highlights of them,
Yeah, Mallory, you have the specific ones, but they were really minor. They were like typos for acronyms, I think. And Mallory, can you speak to any of the other comments that OHA had? Oh, sorry, we're gonna promote you.
Good evening, Mallory. Go ahead, Mallory.
Oh, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Lovely. Hi. I'm looking in my emails to see if I can find the comments from OHA. They were very minor. They weren't even worth putting in a letter. Let's see here. Pete Farley. Now I'm on the spot, even though I just sent it a few weeks ago here. Bear with me. But yeah, there was an acronym on there that he wanted to get fixed. I think that was the biggest one on there. There was nothing having to do with any of the analysis or the cost estimates, or anything like that. While I'm checking my email, I'll pop back in once I find it here.
Okay, and I kind of assumed that there wasn't gonna be very much from OHA, but when I reviewed through it, it kind of looked like this plan is essentially an update, basically just crossed off all of the water resilience plans that are complete, and then updated the 5 years newer of water usage and population and all that stuff. Was there anything other major in this master plan different from the other one that I didn't catch?
Yeah, maybe a better winter question. Yeah, can you speak to any major updates that weren't in the 2017 master plan completed by Civil West?
Hey, it's Mallory.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's Mallory again. I found the email from the state. And yeah, one comment was a typo on an abbreviation. And then another was turbidity limit was mistyped in there, which did not have an effect on any of the analysis. So those were the only two comments that he had.
And then Mallory, can you speak to, Eric had asked if this is like a comprehensive update to the 2017 master plan completed by Civil West?
Yes, so this is a complete update to the 2017 plan. The reason that we did the update in the first place was because it's recommended that plans get updated every 10 years. And also when new big projects either get implemented or are being talked about at the city. And so what was not in your last plan was all of the seismic improvements from the seismic analysis plan that you had put together. So we integrated those projects into this plan. We did update all the population. So the planning period is 20 years into the future. So you got another extra 10 years from your last plan. Population is, you're not growing. So none of the projects are based on population growth. They are maintenance projects and upkeep.
Any other questions?
I'll move to approve resolution 2603 for the purpose of adopting the water system master plan dated December 30, 2025.
And second.
Any further discussion?
The only thing that I would like to say is in the future, it would be nice if we could, if there's an email sent that has summarized some things, especially in that master plan, that be included in our packet.
Okay, roll call please, Jen.
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Council President Kirk.
Yes.
Counselor Ostrander,
Yes.
Council Hammond,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay,
Subject version was handed in.
thank you.
Thank you.
Shown in the email.
Okay, next we have a resolution for the purpose of creating a tourism and arts commission, public art and policy. Bruce?
Yes, Madam Mayor, there is a copy attached. And the recommended motion is to approve resolution 2604, creating a tourism and arts commission policy, or public art policy.
With that question?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions about the policy itself.
Sure.
I've had time to really think about it. And there's a couple issues that I had with it. I think it's really well written and very well done, but there's just a couple, issues I have. Looking at the process for public art under purchasing process, it seems that, I'm not sure, but it almost seems like the desire to purchase a piece of art is coming before deciding what location it would go on. And the way this is written, location is, the third thing in line there. And most of the time, art is created for a location. The location tells you or speaks to the artist about what they want to create for that space. It's not the other way around, that you take a piece of art and you plop it down somewhere. So I just would like to see some change of wording that makes it more that you decide, and then if you do look like at one of our little pocket parks on Spruce, and you decide you want a piece of art there, wouldn't parks have to get involved in that discussion early on? Because if they are the Parks Commission, so wouldn't they be involved early in the discussion, not after, not as a consultant afterwards?
I know they talked about that any site that they were to go to, whether it's a public site or private site, that they would have to have discussion with the owners of those properties. I don't think it's in the, program.
But what I'm saying is that location should precede theme.
So
You can't have a theme for a piece of public art if you don't have a location. If it's near the ocean, the theme might be, ocean related. If it's closer to the forest, it might be forest related. What I'm saying is you don't, if it's in Nacoos, if we have a Nacoos Park and it was gonna be there, it would be, the theme would have something to do, most likely an artist would design something to do, they make submissions that have to do with the theme of Nacoos Park. Not, so it's just a wording thing, maybe.
Are you just suggesting we reorder the bullets?
That's what I was thinking.
Sure, that might work.
Maybe like a checklist in order.
Right, of
Yeah,
what,
I didn't think of the bullet points as in order, because it's within number one, so all bullet points need to be completed within number one prior to.
it just
Yeah,
means that you can't have themes for, or a description of the new piece of art until you have a proposed location.
So if we switch the second and third bullet points,
So
will that,
that would be the first thing. Cause you have a proposed location. In other words, we like a piece of art in this park. And then they go through parks.
so move a proposed location for the art piece to the top?
And then a brief statement, and then a description of the theme for the art piece, and then a brief statement describing how it will enhance the city's art collection.
I don't have a problem with that. I kind of read them all, like, all that stuff happens
Yeah.
in step one.
Yeah.
I just think it wasn't clear to me.
I kind of read it the same way you did, Lisa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's make that change then.
And the other thing I'm concerned about is, it seems like the public works maintenance piece comes into play later in the game, which doesn't make sense to me either, because if they're the people who are going to have to maintain it in the location, it seems that they should be consulted up front about whether or not this piece is possible in this location. Yeah, because maintenance before it ends, the top three get picked.
So
So that.
including a maintenance plan as part of that step one, that. what
Or
you're
the
saying?
proposed location for the art piece. And it's right underneath that would be, I don't know how you would word it. I haven't thought about that. I'm just thinking of the order of things that have to happen. You have you want a piece of art in this location, then you go through the process of a theme for the art piece and a description of the piece. And then, but somewhere in there, the way it's written now, the public works concept, that comes in way farther down the line. And if it's not possible to maintain a certain material in a certain space, then it won't work.
So do you think this should go back to the committee?
Well, I would like to see them.
Well, and I think that, I agree actually with a lot of what Lisa has said there. But I also think that, art purchase proposals and all of that need to go to a staff member for staff recommendation before it comes to council, and that's not in here. It's a direct path to council.
So, and I would add to that if it involves a committee, that it goes to the committee also, so if it's in a park, it would go to the first committee.
Yeah, so, and then it would all go back to staff, and then staff could make the recommendation.
I agree. I think.
But
so.
They did a good
Right.
job on it, just a
If
quick.
they could just rearrange a couple things or make a couple things clearer.
Mhm.
I'm sorry to hold it up. And I know it is very well written, but I just really want to see it. So it's really clear. And so there's no issues later on that we could have avoided.
Yeah, I feel much better about this draft and the whole purchasing process and it sounds like we got it.
Yeah, so I had a comment, I was gonna say it's not a big deal to try to incorporate it in this, but since if we're requesting some incorporations.
Let's do it.
So I was curious, we have 10 pieces, I think, of public art currently in, Cannon Beach. I know we don't wanna think in general about, art becoming stagnant and just sitting and whatever, but is it, I think it's worth having within, because this is the public art policy, something in here about what to do when a piece needs to be moved, whether it needs to be moved to another location in Cannon Beach, or if it just isn't the right fit for an area anymore, maybe not the right fit for Cannon Beach as a whole. How do we go about selling, donating, giving back to the artist, whatever it is?
You statue Barbara Lee or
Yeah,
something.
yes, or say we decide we hate puffins and we wanna get rid of the 2 puffins that are over by the public restrooms. Whatever it is, how do we go about getting rid of that and then replacing it, because we only have so much public space in Cannon Beach. And in order to stay relevant artistically, a refresh is gonna be required at some point.
Or something deteriorates.
Or if the interior isn't maintainable, how do we go about refreshing that
Yeah,
and
that'd be good.
and getting rid of something that isn't necessarily a good fit anymore?
Okay. Anything else? Okay, so we'll go back to, the committee and, we'll resubmit, but great start. Too.
Yeah, I'm not,
We're not
negative about that.
Yeah, we're not throwing everything right, great.
Very good.
Yeah.
Glad they did that, all that
Yeah.
work.
Okay, any other items on that? Okay, so next we're on resolution 2605 for the purpose of authorizing the city manager to enter into the emergency contract. Bruce?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a situation I've never run into before where we're pairing space that has no air conditioning, heat, lighting, that kind of thing for an active use. And so we're trying to move the folks out of the existing food pantry and move them into a classroom or 2 at the school. And so we're doing a 2-pronged approach. And this has coming with the concurrence of the fire department, planning and building. Depending on what's required, we have an architect engineer to do plans, or if there are calculations necessary, whatever. And that is estimated at $26,000, but that would be on a as-needed basis. We've also worked on some other arrangements that we will hire local contractors to the degree possible to make approved repairs and execute plans. And that may not require plans. So they might be able to go ahead and if it's a heater, be able to fix a heater. There's lights, give power to the lights, that sort of thing. And with that, we won't have a cost for the actual work until we have the contractors in there saying, okay, this is what we can do. But if we need to have the calculations or whatever, we've got the architect. But we're gonna focus primarily on hiring local contractors.
Explain to me what the cap is financially. Because there's been a lot of confusion evidently from the public about what the cap is on the amount of money that is authorized for this project.
You're asking for a cap for a project that has no scope. And so if you want to set a cap, it would be artificially set. And, you know, at one point, I think people have been throwing around a number like $100,000, but we think it'll be under 50,000. But we can't promise that until the contractors get in and tell us what it's gonna take to restore those systems.
It's not gonna be under $50,000 if you're paying CETA 26,000.
But we may not need to use that.
So I don't, I think we need to know. I think we need to know a little bit more information. You've already established what, I mean, it sounds like, maybe it was Chris that was talking about it, you know, there's some windows, they need heat, you had talked about bringing in porta potties. I mean, this is temporary. This is a temporary solution. So back to Lisa's question is how much money do we put into this temporary solution? Of course, we want the folks to be comfortable there, the one day a week that they're there. You guys are only there on Wednesdays, is that correct? Or are there people that in and out of there throughout the week? So, but we need some transparency on this. I can't see spending a boatload of money on something that we're just gonna tear up.
Well, Bruce, if you're sure, I mean, you're saying you know it's not gonna be more than $100,000, right?
No, but that number was thrown around. We think that the number is probably gonna be under 50. I'm hesitant to say that because everybody will glom onto it. We don't know until somebody gets in there and tells us this is what needs to be done.
But if you estimate a little higher than 50, then it's great if it comes in under 50, and there's certainly hope it would. But then if you estimate higher, if you say a number like 100 or 75, then people at least know that there's an upper limit. That's all, I think.
Well, this emergency resolution authorizes up to 100,000.
So it is up to 100, so you could potentially.
We've had conversations as recently as this afternoon, talking about what the numbers are likely to be, who's likely to be the kind of people that we would bring in, that sort of thing. So this is gonna be changing all the time. If you're more comfortable with staying with it, because we're gonna do it for the lowest reasonable cost.
But it won't go over, because you see, what I'm saying is that there's some misunderstanding amongst many people that this is gonna cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm quoting from things that appear in letters, okay? If you're saying that the cap on this is, I just want you to say it. The cap on this emergency spending is $100,000 on this proposal, then it won't go above that.
Right.
Okay.
And
I just want that said so that can stop all the rumors about spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a temporary food pantry solution.
Can I?
Understood.
Commission, council, can I speak just briefly to that specific point? So in the drafted resolution, it does say that if the collective costs exceed $100,000, the city manager has to come back to council for approval. So it does, that is in there for sure. Just wanted to clarify.
That's leaving it open for us to be right back here and have no function and still have limited function at the food pantry. That still leaves that door open to walk through and say, oh, I need more money. And I don't understand why we're spending $26,000 for CETA. I understand the contract and all of that, but we have a contractor, we have Cannon Beach Electric, you know, there's places in town that we can identify that we have contracts with, that we know what needs to be done there to get that building operational. And I don't know why we're not going direct to those people instead of spending time with CETA. We've already paid them enough money, contract or no, and that contract to me is questionable. It said substantial completion in that contract by 2023 and it expires a year later. That contract shouldn't be any good anymore. I'm sorry, Jody, I'm clearly passionate about this. And the reason that my emails, just to clarify, the reason that my emails came in the packet is because I had sent emails to staff and the whole council was copied on them and on my email. So that's why they were a part of the packet. Had that not happened, you wouldn't have seen, this. Hopefully you would have seen a nice summary. But I think so is the plan to just give CETA $26,000, or are we gonna go out to these other contractors and ask them, what's it gonna take to get these guys some electricity and some heat and some water?
I don't want to speak for Bruce. I don't know if Chris is there, but we did have that exact conversation earlier this week, I think. Maybe it was last week. Days are running together. And I don't want to speak for Chris either, but it might be that CETA is not needed. We just don't know. Chris,
Yeah, that's correct. I can weigh in a little bit more. I spoke with planning today with Jeff and Alton, the building official, and I asked what requirements would be necessary for a proposed scope of work document that I put together, which is what I mentioned in the last meeting, if that was the last meeting, the one before that, which is electrical, getting lighting into the building. So electrical service, lighting, we would do a mechanical heat pump. So you'd have a 1 outdoor unit, 2 indoor units, so that provides heating and air conditioning. And then that's really it. There's some minor interior stuff, some door repair that we're doing, potentially patching up some of the broken windows with plywood. And so based on that scope that we put together, no plumbing, no water, that was mentioned at one point, that's not in the, and no sanitary sewer. So based on that work, we're more confident that we could submit a building permit with that scope of work. And we would not need architectural plans, engineered calculations, and we would be able to, well, if this resolution was accepted and it was considered an emergency, we would have authorization to just go out to the select group of trades that we have here locally and get that work done. That would be our.
I have this is either a Jody or a Bruce question. Why do we need to pass this resolution? We have contracts that we passed and signed with all of these trades 3 months ago to do exactly what Chris is saying needs to be done at this property. Why they have authorization to spend $100,000 on this one, $50,000 on that one. There's dollar figures attached to each of these contracts that are no big contracts that my understanding is that they were able to accomplish staff proposed projects, staff things that needed to happen, maintenance and repairs and stuff like that. This is a city-owned facility that needs maintenance and repair. Why is the electrician repairing the electrical, the general contractor that we have under contract that we signed a resolution or voted a resolution for? Why are they not able to accomplish that? Why do we have to pass a separate emergency resolution for something that is questionable whether or not we find it meets the definition of emergency?
Yeah, I think
procrastinated on things.
I think that because we have people in the space, and the space is not, doesn't have air, doesn't have light, all those kind of things. We're doing it on an emergency basis. We're getting them out of here. We're putting them in here. This is being on an emergency basis. And, I'm trying to recall the other one you said that there's $100,000 contract that.
I don't remember what the dollar figures were for all of the trades contracts that we passed the resolution for in November, I believe.
Before Karen left.
Before Karen left, so maybe it was October. No, this October and November.
Okay.
But those contracts, why can we not just act on those contracts that exist and not go through this whole rigmarole of voting in an emergency resolution and authorizing additional spending and all of that stuff? We authorize spending for maintenance and repairs of city facilities.
Okay, Jody has her hand up. Jody?
yes, yes. Can you hear me? So I don't know anything about, it sounds like you might have some on-call contracts with just tradesmen. I don't know anything about those, so I can't speak to that point. The reason that the former general contractor that was going to work on the project previously, why I recommended, and this is on me, that they not do the work is because they were hired specific to a design. And I didn't want to clear that
Reference
line.
to the all contracts.
What's that?
The questions in reference to those on-call contracts that you're sitting on them about.
Yeah, and that's something that we have, what are there, 7 maybe on-call contractors that.
Do you remember what they were and how much they were for?
Well, they're all for around 100,000 apiece. We've got Cannon Beach Electric, we've got a general, is Coaster one of them? I'm not, no, Jen probably knows who they
If
are.
they're-
but they're-
Yeah, if there are on-call contracts for trades services, I had no idea. I would have recommended that right away. I don't know if Chris knew, so I don't want him to take the hit for that. I think the emergency procurement was more about not wanting to have to go out to procurement for these services, because we knew it was gonna be more than $25,000.
That is,
Where it
yes,
came
that's
from.
the understanding, Jody, is that, and you're the procurement lawyer, but if, the project was procured traditionally, it would have required an architect to design the entire thing, then it would go out to bid. And then we do a normal procurement process. And so knowing now, if we don't need to go through the traditional delivery method of design, bid, build, and we can execute either the existing on-call contract to do that work, then it's faster,
And
and
if the planning department, building department and fire department signed off on these are the particular things that need to be corrected, I don't know why we can't
It's repaired.
go do the things that need to be done. It's,
We're not.
has it in our rearview mirror.
Yeah, I guess my biggest fear would be that it could not be done on an emergency basis necessarily, because people are busy, people have work, other, local tradesmen have a lot of work. And if they are, my big concern is that it is not done quickly.
Wasn't that the part of the on-call contract, why we chose these particular contracts?
No, that's
Well,
part
because
of
we
it.
chose them, that's why we chose them, because they would drop what they're doing to execute the contract.
Well, and even getting a contractor in through, even Bremrick or somebody, they're not gonna drop what they're doing right now to do this. You're not gonna, our on-call contractors are gonna be our best bet to get them to drop what they're doing to come in and help, and they're local. And if we wave the white flag and say, hey, the food pantry needs help, we need help, they're gonna do what they can to get us in as soon as they can. I really honestly believe that with my whole heart.
Yeah, I mean, that's great, I more.
I don't disagree with what Deanna is saying, we'll get the help. But, I guess I'm not conveying that we're not supposed to be in that space. That's supposed to be unoccupied space. We're works things out with fire and building and those folks saying that we could go ahead and move dry goods in. Now we're going in and doing and replacing heat and other things that have been taken out. So to me, the city is better protected if we're doing it in an emergency basis, as opposed to just, contracts that we have, that we go ahead and bring people in. There's something to be said that we are doing this on an emergency basis, which is why we moved out and why we're letting people work again.
So this is more, I mean, it could be reworded maybe, Jody, in some way that says that, so the city's covered, if something happens to someone in one of those buildings, the city's covered, it's kind of moving their lease in whatever way. I mean, it's kind of, I understand what Bruce is saying about the building itself, but how is that gonna work? So the city is going to be insured basically for having people in a building that hasn't been inhabited in 12 or 15 years.
So I
what
don't-
if they-
Go ahead,
You
sorry.
wanna
Jen.
answer?
Well, I was just gonna say, I don't think that the point of this resolution, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bruce, Chris, was not to sort of say all hands on deck, everybody come help. It was more to sort of go through and circumvent a procedure that tends to be time consuming so that we could go do it now, so that we go hire a contractor now and not have to worry about getting bids and that was the purpose of this. It wasn't necessarily to just say we have an emergency here. It was more, I mean, obviously that's the precursor to it, but this is specific to procurement. If we want, or if council wants to do something else, like declare an actual emergency, then that would be a different looking resolution.
I don't read anything in this emergency resolution that bothers me. Is there something here that you would want changed? That, I mean, it just seems like we're saying we want this to happen without delay. We want it to happen the fastest way possible. We want food pantry volunteers to be safe as quickly as possible.
None of that concerns me in the slightest. I just question why we need to pass an emergency resolution when we have on-call contracts.
We shouldn't
Do
need to.
this, and these contracts, the on-call contracts could have been acted upon 30 days ago. It could have been acted on 15 days ago and got that process started, as opposed to waiting until the council meeting, passing an emergency resolution and then going, acting upon these things.
I don't have exactly the same interpretation as Jody. I wanted to declare an emergency to protect the city. But I think we're going to be doing it. Then we can go and we can use the on-call contracts, that kind of thing, but we're still going into spaces and doing work, doing electrical work without permits. That sort of thing. So if there's a requirement for a permit, you want an architect to be able to do it. I don't think there's going to be. I think conversations that we've had, that's not going to be a problem. But it is a problem. We are in there. And in a building, and we're gonna be doing electrical work and all that kind of stuff. When we don't have permits and we don't have plans. So I'm trying to protect us with an emergency and deal with it.
But this isn't that.
It was supposed to be that.
What do you say?
This isn't that. This is not. I mean, that's what Jody just said, is that isn't what this is for. That isn't what this resolution is for, is what Bruce is wanting.
The other thing I'm worried about is with our ongoing tradesman contracts, I don't know the scope of what we agreed. They're in there to do maintenance and repair. This goes a little bit beyond maintenance and repair. This is installing a heat pump or installing certain things, whether or not that is part of the scope of those agreements that we made, I'm not sure.
Aren't those heat pumps just those, they just go in the wall and it's a
I just,
low volt?
yeah. But I don't know if they, how they feel about installing it on a non-emergency basis in a building that is, meeting certain requirements of code. So I'm not all that confident that we can rely on those tradesman contracts, which are just for routine maintenance and repair, it seems to me. That was my impression.
So are you saying we should pay $26,000 to hire an architect? To hire a contractor? I'm just asking.
Only if you know services, otherwise we won't charge us anything. And I would like to just get direction from the council because I'm uncomfortable with some of the things that I'm saying and admitting. And so if y'all just wanna give me direction, that's fine, I've tried to make my case.
I think the direction we should go is to pass this resolution. And that way the city's protected, the food pantry can continue to be in there. And,
And there's a reason we're doing everything we're doing, because it's urgent.
Yep. And there is a term on it, if you want, $100,000.
And if there's something else in here that concerns you guys, let's address it, but, I'm not sure what. harm this does to have this in place. I mean, it's,
So for a question for Jody, does this? I don't read it, I'm seeing the same thing, I think I've seen the same thing Deanna, Pam was saying, that. I don't see that this has protections in the city, in the now therefore there's three. Confirms there's an emergency, sufficient to warrant the procurement of emergency contracts. Authorization, up to, but not to exceed $100,000, and then, resolution is effective immediately. I don't see any of those as protective measures on the city against things that could happen.
I don't know where the miscommunication was between Bruce and me. I'll take that hit. But I believe that the request was for an emergency procurement, which is not the same thing as declaring an emergency, which is more in line with setting up a protection safety net for the city. This is purely about procurement. This is about going out and hiring without having to issue solicitations, get quotes, get bids, and all the rigmarole that comes with public procurement. If the preference is to go with the on-call contracts, I'm supportive of that. I don't know why we wouldn't at least try that initially. And if somebody, one of the tradesmen couldn't or had too much work or was unavailable, then theoretically Chris could rely on this ordinance to go find a contractor who could do the work immediately. But that's just an option.
We don't have an on-call contract for a mechanical contractor. We do for electricians, we have two electricians, but we don't have one for a mechanical contractor.
So
So if it was over a certain dollar amount, they have to go out and do an informal solicitation, gathering quotes from multiple, different mechanical contractors. So again, that's what she's getting at, is in the procurement rules are now lax. If this resolution passes, I can go and go to one local mechanical contractor, get a number and execute that work on a contract.
we don't necessarily have all of the on-call contractor agreements that we might need.
That's correct. I don't have a mechanical on call.
Okay,
And then
I'm ready to make a motion. Well, I'll move to approve resolution 2605 for the purpose of authorizing the city manager to enter into emergency services contracts for work on the Cannon Beach Elementary School building.
A second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
I have, oh, go ahead. So. I don't know, for contract, emergency services for contracts works on the Cannon Beach Elementary School building, but it doesn't say why. And it should say why, only for the purpose of the food pantry. So I would like, can I amend?
But do you think the resolution addresses that?
No.
You don't?
No, it doesn't say specifically for the food pantry.
In the resolution, I'm not having the motion.
In the title of the resolution, it just, for the purpose of authorizing the city manager to enter into emergency service contract for work on the Cannon Beach Elementary School building.
Well, second, whereas the Cannon Beach Food Pantry currently operates as Cannon Beach Food
I'm sorry.
Pantry's structure has reached a point of structural obsolescence.
An alternative is in Deanna's favor is that under the resolutions itself, you're right. It looks like I didn't actually mention the food pantry anywhere. That was an oversight. You could certainly add it to the end of subsection 1. If you wanted to amend it, you could do so.
I would amend my motion to include that specific mention.
I second that.
No, you want to restate your motion, just so we can be clear, please.
Well, I move to approve resolution 2605 for the purpose of authorizing the city manager to enter into emergency services contracts for work on the Cannon Beach Elementary School building to house the Cannon Beach Food Pantry. And amending the resolution to be specific regarding that.
Second. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Counselor Ostrander,
Yes.
Counselor Hammond,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes.
Yes.
Council President Kirk,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're gonna go on to proclamations, proclamation 2601 for Black History Month.
Can okay, I'll just go ahead and read this and make a suggestion. February is Black History Month. The 2026 Black History Month theme is Century of Black History Commemorations, honoring the 100th anniversary of its founding by Dr. Carter G. Woodson in 1926. This milestone theme examines the evolution, impact, and importance of celebrating Black history in shaping American identity, fostering pride, and advancing equality. Thank you, Councilor Ostrander, for suggesting the city participate in this month. And I was going to make a suggestion that we ask Commissioner Ostrander to read the proclamation. He was the one that brought it to our attention.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, this surprised that we didn't have the proclamation scheduled for Black History Month, and I'm glad to fill that hole. I did reach out to the Cannon Beach History Center to see if they're doing anything. They were attempting to schedule some speakers for this month, but they weren't able to get the Oregon Black Pioneers to come speak this month. They're obviously very busy in February, but they will be here in April. And Cannon Beach History Museum is going to be posting throughout the month stuff on Black history, specifically on the North Oregon coast.
So would someone like to make a motion?
I move to adopt proclamation 2601 proclaiming February 2026 as Black History Month.
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Hammond,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes.
Yes.
Council President Kirk.
Yes.
Counselor Ostrander.
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Eric, would you like to read the proclamation?
Sure. For the purpose of proclaiming the month of February 2026 as Black History Month, proclamation number 2601 begins as, whereas the city of Cannon Beach takes pride in joining Americans throughout the country in recognizing February 2026 as Black History Month. And whereas Black History Month pays tribute to the contributions that African Americans have played to American history and their struggles for freedom and equality, and deepens the understanding of our shared history. And whereas the Association for the Study of African American Life and History has named the theme of Black History Month in 2026 to be a century of Black history commemorations, this theme celebrates that what began as a week-long observation of Black contributions to history and modern culture in 1926 has over time become the Black History Month that we know today. And whereas inequality and injustice still linger in our cities, states, and country, and it should be the aspiration and responsibility of every citizen to advance the American ideals of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all, we encourage all to recognize and confront continuing issues by eliminating barriers with fearlessness and determination to empower Black people to promote and protect their health, wellness, and current endeavors in history. And whereas rhetoric around the nation has turned to using our differences to divide, we seek to recognize these differences and use these differences to empower all in our community to succeed personally, socially, and economically, and in all ways that matter. And whereas Cannon Beach is proud to honor the history, contributions, and achievements of the Black community locally, nationally, and globally, we uplift our Black community leaders, educators, business owners, professionals, and all others who promote well-being and knowledge throughout the many facets of the Black community as part of our whole inclusive community. We remain committed to honoring diversity, equity, inclusion, and mutual respect as the fundamental principles of the country, of the city government and work to promote these core values throughout our community. Now therefore be it resolved that the common council of the city of Cannon Beach hereby adopts the February 2026 to be Black History Month. And in the city of Cannon Beach, I encourage all Cannon Beach residents to join in this topic service.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you for suggesting it. You want to take a break on the hand? Okay. Okay, we're back in session and first action item is to appoint some city committee boards and commissions. First, we have the farmers market, Lenore Emery Maroney. And is she available on Zoom? Is she on Zoom?
I don't see her.
Okay, so one of our last meetings, she hadn't submitted for the farmers market and didn't have a complete application. She now has a complete application. So does anyone like to make a motion?
I move to appoint Lenore Emery Maroney for the Farmers Market Committee beginning immediately.
Second. I think you beat me.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call please, Jen.
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Council President Kerr.
Yes.
Counselor Ostrander,
Yes.
Counselor Hammond,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, congratulations to her. Next we have, Lolly Alsop, who would like to be on the Tourism and Arts Commission. She is here in the audience.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Lauren Alsop, for the Sunday, I don't know if I can say that.
Yeah,
Yes, most of you know me as Lolly. I grew up in Cannon Beach when, in my opinion, it was still exhibited its artist community roots. I spent my childhood days with my mother and grandmother's contemporary design furniture and furnishing shop in Cannon Beach, the Pavilion. Looking at art from Jeff Wyman, George Kittlewell, Libby Pattison, Ursula Ulrich, and my uncle David Cannon. I ran the walk between their shop on Hemlock and Jupiter Books, hanging with Billy Holtz, Michael Burgess, and Steve McLeod. My life has been spent around artists, collecting their work, supporting them, and being thankful that this is the community I was raised in. Besides being an art lover and an artist in my own right, I have worked in the service industry in this community for over 25 years. I engage with visitors and locals alike on a daily basis. I have years of conversations stockpiled away, what they love about Cannon Beach, what they miss, and what Cannon has. I've also been on the other side of the panel and written and presented grants to TAC on behalf of the Cannon Beach Yoga Festival. I care deeply about this community. I care about public, local, accessible art. I recently met a woman at one of our local establishments that I helped cultivate back in 2017. She rode the Amtrak from New York to Seattle, then down to Cannon Beach. She's an oil painter who is not only painting our beautiful landscapes, but also our people. I was so moved to see her portraits of hotel desk clerks, bartenders, and line cooks. People that support the massive influx of visitors that we have every year in this community. She wasn't asking for anything. She just wanted to share her art with us, document us, showcase us, and honor us in every way. She told me that she's actually staying longer than she anticipated because it is so clear to her that we are a community that supports artists and welcomes everyone. This is a sentiment that I want to move forward with. This is what I love and admire about our community. These are people that we want to feel home in Cannon Beach, just like I always have. Interactions like these that have motivated me to apply for the position to help continue the work TAC does to inspire, attract, and educate visitors in an art-centered way. This is my foundation of thought, inspiration, and hopeful future for Cannon Beach. Thank you all so much for what you do, and thank you for your time and consideration for me to join TAC.
Does anybody have any questions? That was an excellent presentation.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Any questions? Okay,
I move to appoint Lolly Alsop to the Tourism and Arts Commission beginning immediately.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Council President Kerr.
Yeah.
Counselor Ostrander,
Yes.
Counselor Hammond,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes,
Of course.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Lolly.
Thank you.
Okay, and then on the Public Works Committee, we have Mark Morgans, and he's on Zoom. Good evening, Mark. Good evening, Mark.
Can you hear me?
Hello? Yeah,
You can hear me?
yes, we can.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I've had it on for the past hour and a half. Good thing I didn't say anything. Good evening, and thanks for considering my application. I can answer any questions that you might have. I've actually served on the Public Works Committee in the past. It was in the early 2000s, enjoyed that experience. Was able to bring a lot of work experience that I have from the past, working with large infrastructure projects on private property. So I've been retired for 2 years now, a little more free time, and I heard that there's some vacancies on public works, so I thought I'd bring that experience back in. So I particularly had backgrounds in working with the development of project standards, budgeting and managing the budgets, contractor selection, contractor compliance, and then with safety. And so I know the city does all that work, but those would be things that I'd be able to have an eye on and provide support and input. So my primary interest is with project, and regardless of whatever the project could be, but looking for efficiencies with the projects, making sure that it's a true need and it's bringing value to the community, and also wanting to make sure that we're having a minimum environmental impact and that the projects are safe both during construction and afterwards for all involved, be it the workers, employees, staff, and public and visitors. So that's my interest in participating again on Public Works Committee.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? You did great presentation.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet you really sell yourself. Everybody like to make a motion?
I'll move to appoint Mark Morgan to the Public Works Committee beginning immediately.
A second. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Counselor Ostrander?
Yes.
Counselor Hammond?
Yes.
Counselor Hayes?
Yes.
Council President Kirk?
Yes.
Mayor Knopf?
Yes. Hey, thank you, Mark. Immediately.
Thank,
You're on the rush.
thank you very much. I'm ready to go to work.
Good, thanks. Okay, next we have the funding of the Cannon Beach Lifeguard Towers.
Yes, at the December 15th meeting, Cannon Beach Rural Protection Fire Chief Mark Reckman presented Tourism and Arts Commission requesting funding for new lifeguard towers. Council reviewed tax recommendation to fund $60,000 of their tourism purpose funds for the lifeguard towers at their January 13th, 2026 meeting with a consensus to proceed. The recommendation is to move forward with the suggested motion.
Does anybody have any questions for our esteemed visitor? Yeah, okay, are you ready to make a motion?
I move to approve $60,000 of tourism purpose funds to Cannon Beach Rural Fire Protection to help complete $160,000 project to purchase and install 2 new lifeguard towers in Cannon Beach.
A second. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Counselor Hammond?
Yes.
Counselor Hayes?
Yes.
Council President Kirk?
Yes.
Counselor Ostrander?
Yes.
Mayor Knopf?
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sticking around here, 60,000. Okay, next we have some informational items. Anybody have any questions on the monthly status report?
I for Bruce, I don't remember what the expected date of occupancy for the police station was. Do you remind us?
Sometime in June.
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 And the city hall expected occupancy was August. Police station is April.
April.
I'm sorry.
Police station is April. And what's the city hall?
Probably late July and still.
Okay.
But it was anticipated August, right, Rusty? Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions on the monthly status report?
If council is amenable to this, we will have a grand opening for both buildings, or we do it one time.
No, both buildings are, yeah, flying.
We're fine.
And Ubers.
Mhm.
Anniversary.
I'm your Uber driver.
Get out the Suburban. Okay, any other questions on the monthly status report? Okay, for mayor communications, I tomorrow get to go to the elementary school, the mayor's from Society Greenfield to present a contest for fourth graders, what they would do if they were mayor. And so always, we give them a little speech presentation about what it's like to be a mayor, and then they interpret it through posters, and it's a great
How are some of the things?
well, it's a new year, we'll have some new ones.
Oh,
Yeah, they haven't started, yeah, we're doing the initial presentation, but I'll share that with you. They do have some very interesting questions. Like, you know, if we have a secret service, you know, people protecting us, sometimes we kind of feel like we should, but anyway, that'll be fun. It's always fun to work with your part and the Seaside mayor also. The legislature is now in session, and two things that I think are gonna affect, how we operate is to be able to have, some more flexibility in TLT spending. I plan on endorsing that as the mayor, and I'm wondering if there's councilors that would like to also endorse TLT flexibility.
I'm certainly.
I'm gonna be writing an opposition letter
Okay.
for that,
And that's why I'm asking. Anybody
For
else?
that. For the court.
the change from 70-30 to 40-60. So
Yeah, I'll be in opposition to that.
Okay. So is it fine to sign individual?
I think it's, we were, I think I said this when we were talking about, council behavior and all that stuff. We were all elected to have opinions.
Mhm.
The community elected each of us individually for our opinions. I think it is within our rights and within our responsibilities to voice those opinions.
Okay,
As our individuals, some council,
okay,
that's just board council as a whole.
okay, just wanted to bring that
That's
up.
my opinion of the way we can.
Okay, and then the other thing that they're going to try to clarify is the Oregon Ethics Commission rulings about us not being able to talk to each other. So I do plan on endorsing that also, because I think it really has.
What was the number on it? Do you remember?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a busy 5 weeks, but I think.
Is it a short session?
Yeah, 5 weeks. Okay, that's it for me. Anybody have anything under council communications? Okay, good of the order. We want to bring up, a land use training to take place, before a joint work session on March 5th, have it at 5 o'clock and before we have our work session. Is will that work with everybody's schedule?
When is that?
March 5th at 5 o'clock, and we have a joint meeting at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, that joint one is on the zoning ordinance changes for housing. And so we don't know how long it will be at that one, and we're giving the public testimony, but we were hoping to do a training for all, for DRB, planning, and you guys at 5, so that it has kind of a set, 5 to 6, and then those that could attend, you know, it's not being inventory. Those, we have a lot of new, I think, I don't know the last time that it has been in any training. But we definitely have some things we'd like to go over with everyone, especially with, you know, new people to, our planning commissions.
When are our meetings in March?
They are, March 3rd is the regular meeting, March 5th is the housing zoning ordinance and public input meeting, and March 10th is the work session. Also, those are the night meetings. On March 12th, we do have a budget meeting at 9 AM.
Yeah.
And then Is there another?
March 31st.
March 31st, you know, right?
Okay, the fifth might be an issue for me.
At 5, you're gonna be here at 6.
It might be an issue for me all the way around.
Oh,
Might be an issue for
okay.
me, but I need to look at,
Okay, so
But-
have a land use training.
if I'm gonna be here, I'll be here, and if
Okay.
I'm not, I won't be here at all.
Okay, and will the land use training be recorded? It'll be recorded?
Yes, it'll be in
Okay.
person, we'll record.
Okay, good,
And we'll have the presentation, so we can have that.
okay, good. Okay, anybody else have anything for good of the order?
How's things going with coffee with the counselors? Are you guys, are people coming?
Oh, well,
Has it kind of gone?
well, the idea is such a great idea, but now that we can't report it, that has really put a chill on it, because a lot of people went back after the fact. I've had so many people tell me that because they can't go back after the fact, because they're not available at 10 o'clock on Wednesday, that, you know.
And that's why we're hoping we get clarification of.
Right, so I'm really not sure where to go with that until we have, I mean, if we could get clarification that we could have it and record it, then I'd really be happy to do it, but
But we are gonna show up tomorrow.
yeah, we'll show it tomorrow, but if, you know, it's 3 people who were able to make it. It
Yeah.
just seems so silly.
So let's wait, I mean, let's have, you guys show up tomorrow,
Yeah.
and then, by the time we have the March one, we might have some resolutions, some
Right.
clarification on.
Well, and wasn't that Jody, didn't you say that that would be, could be considered a serial meeting regardless if it was?
I think my concern was more about other counselors' ability to watch it. Either live or later. It could be arguably communication used for deliberation. It all turns on how OGEC's defining those specific terms in the statute, which they're
Which
being.
is
What they're deciding.
Yeah, that's what they're gonna try to get clarification on.
No,
I mean, I understand, I never watched it live, I always watched it after the fact. So that I knew what people were talking about. I have not since watched, well, I haven't been able to.
that's the point, is that
Yeah.
anybody, I mean, it seems so ridiculous to me, because
Yeah.
it's open for anybody to look at, including the entire council, or not the entire council, or the council could be forbidden. I just, I don't know, it just really, I just think it's a ridiculous, interpretation, not on your part. It
No,
just- it just-
no offense taken, I agree.
Okay, so hopefully that will get some good clarification.
But we'll be here tomorrow at 10.
Yes,
Yeah,
and I won't see. Or hear you.
We'll hear about it in March.
Yeah, right. Okay, anything else? Or,
I do, I know we're going to be talking about, parking as part of the housing code, but I think we need to have a bigger conversation about, commercial parking. And right now we have a commercial parking code that essentially encourages paving significant portions of downtown. And as we see, we see some of the empty lots, and you can start to visualize what happened at the, north end of Hemlock with the Walker Kramer building, where essentially it's strip mall like. And I think this goes beyond housing. We're losing some of the most loved character of this town if we're going to continue down this path. I think what people love about this town is the courtyards and walkways and public spaces. And I just think we need to develop that code that encourages more of that, as well as housing. So I don't know where we need to go with this, but I think it's a bigger topic.
Part of the code rewrite, discussion in general.
And I think we need to come back and look at that parking fund. Right now, we got people paying into the parking fund and, you know, and some people not, and it's.
Yeah, the whole part of the code rewrite, I mean, I don't think, I was totally unaware that they would have, that building at the north end, that, you know, the designers, that was a complete shock to me, that they had to have that strict home, I mean.
Well, they didn't
Yeah.
want to have to go through planning to get a variance, they didn't want to have to go through a bunch of stuff, so they did what is administratively provable, which is a giant park, quote unquote, giant park, it's not.
Yeah, but
It's one third of their building space needs to be parking,
right,
plus aisles, it's
this looks.
162 square feet for a parking space for every 400 square feet of building space. You're building a third of your building, or a third of your property becomes parking lot.
Right.
And especially the downtown core, I mean, we're really in danger of losing, you know, one of the most charming aspects of the downtown area.
Isn't it part of the code rewrite, Jen?
Yes, I mean, that's exactly what we will talk about at next.
At the housing meeting, we'll be more inclusive, not just the, give back for housing.
For the one on the code rewrite, which
There's
is.
two different.
That's the-
Oh, okay.
Housing and.
Okay.
That is next week.
Housing section.
So.
No.
Right.
Okay, so the code reference next week.
Housing is March.
Well, now I understand that property on Spruce Street is going to be developed and I'm assuming, under the current parking code. And so, I mean, I think it's urgent.
Oh,
that we-
where the old kite shop was that
I
they're doing
believe
now.
so.
Yes. I heard that they're gonna have to push it way back, so we're gonna lose walkable space. Because they want somebody, yeah.
And we'll have, you know, more strip mall.
Yeah.
So, I don't think it's something that we should delay on.
Okay. It's next week.
Yes.
That's soon enough.
We have it all done.
Gotta work.
So next week, Greg's gonna have a meeting on Tuesday, which is your work session, and the packet for that will go tomorrow, and then you'll have a meeting on Thursday for the joint code audit.
Okay, right.
That packet goes out Thursday.
Yeah, and then remember, this is Thursday, executive session at 5 o'clock.
Yes, at the.
In the portals. Okay, anything else?